Hanging with the myths and legends of old, Hercules' story continued. Welcome back to Regalian Stories, everyone. I hope you've all been doing well. In today's video, we go back to Greek mythology as we revisit the story of Hercules. With today's video, focusing on his relationship with his family, his downfall, and the first of his labours. So without further ado, let's get into this video. In our last video, we saw the birth of the epic that would become Hercules, witnessing the early struggles he had to face as Hera tried to kill him, and seeing how he made short work of the snakes that were sent after him. We got to see a young Hercules not realizing his strength and accidentally killing his music teacher, which led him to some bizarre adventures, from facing and killing the Cytheron lion to allegedly impregnating 50 women, creating for some wild stories to tell the boys later. He then even raised a small army of men and went and fought against the minions, impressing the king of Creon so much that he gave Hercules his daughter Megara to marry. So it's safe to say that Hercules' early life was filled with a lot of excitement and adventure. Now, one interesting fact that I didn't even know was that Hercules or Herakles wasn't his birth name, at least in some traditions. Hercules' birth name was actually Alcides or Alcides, the former being the name of his grandfather, who also happens to be the son of Perseus and Andromeda, and the latter deriving from the Greek words for strength or courage, Alki. He then took the name Herakles either later in life due to the labours or earlier in his life, and his mother renamed him Herakles to try and keep Hera off his back, as Heracles translates to Hera and Kleos, meaning glory or fame. But as you'll see with the 12 labours, this didn't completely work out. Hera still very much remained one of Hercules' greatest haters. At this point of the story, Hercules was young and successful. He was married to Megara and even managed to have some children, namely 3 sons, and we'll just completely ignore the other 50 for now. Now, of course, there was one person who could not stand seeing Hercules frolicking through the fields with his wife and sons in tow, or sitting around a well-laid table with crackling fire in the corner. That person is the ever-present Op, Hera. Hera was fuming that this man was still living, and not only living, but living good. She was so ticked off, in fact, that she sent a madness upon our boy Hercules, causing him to switch on his family and kill his sons, in some cases, even killing Megara as well. Due to the madness, Hercules was out of control. He was slashing this way and that, breaking necks and taking out his family. It was only when Athena appeared and smacked him upside the head with a stone, knocking him out, did he finally come back to his senses. But at this point, the damage was done. Hercules was left to sit in what he had wrought, all thanks to Hera and Zeus's original infidelity, lest we forget that Hercules' happy life was now destroyed. And we can also see where God of War got their inspiration for Kratos. The gods do love causing mortals to kill their families for some reason. He wanted to die right there with his family, end himself so that he could atone for what he had done. But his cousin Theseus convinced him that this would be the coward's way out. His family wouldn't want this, and instead he should find a way to truly atone for what he had done. And so Hercules did what any ancient Greek figure did back when they were at a loss of what to do next. He consulted the oracle, which is basically like us consulting Google when we don't know where to go next, with Hercules consulting the oracle at Delphi, who explained that he must work for his cousin Eurystheus, the king of Tiryns and Mycenae. King Eurystheus was the one who came up with the labours for Hercules, with them originally starting as 10 labours, but because this wouldn't be a Greek epic without more hardship, and because it's our boy Hercules, they slapped on an extra 2 more labours for good measure, making an even dozen, or 12 labours. The first labour was one that Hercules was all too familiar with, and at this point he should be called Lion Slayer, because again, he was to fight a lion. With this lion being the Nemean lion, a towering beast that was terrorising the land of Nemea. It was ferocious, deadly with a dash of charm. Okay, maybe not the charm bit, I'm not too sure how charming it actually was, but it was definitely deadly and ferocious. So Hercules ventured out, ready to add another lion to his kill count. He found a town named Cleone, where he stayed at the house of a man named Hercules. Now lest we forget that we are in ancient Greece, so the topic of sacrifices came up, and Hercules wanted to sacrifice an animal to wish for good luck for Hercules. But Hercules instead told Hercules, "Slow your roll. When it comes to sacrifices, we have two options. Either I beat this lion, and me and you do a sacrifice to Zeus in thanks, or I lose against this lion, and you can do a sacrifice to me as a hero. And to of course make this interesting, give me 30 days to complete such a feat, and if I'm not back in 30 days, then assume I am dead." And Hercules was like, "Cool." Hercules then made his way to Nemea, and he began to track the terrifying lion. He looked over hills, under structures, turned every stone and rock, until eventually he found the lion. And to Hercules being quick-witted, he whipped out his bow and started firing on the Nemean lion, his arrows whizzing through the air and striking true with Hercules thinking, "I really am that guy." Only for the lion to turn around and say, "You're not that guy," because each one of his arrows bounced right off its hide before the lion got up and made its way to its cave. However, we know Hercules. This didn't deter him one bit, and he was like, "Well, putting yourself in an enclosed area just makes it easier for me to kill you." And so Hercules followed the lion to the cave. He blocked off one part of the cave and went in the other side, and there he saw it. The lion staring him down, snarling, roaring, ready to feast on human flesh. But Hercules, of course, had to hit the lion with the famous line, "I'm not in here with you, you're in here with me." Before lunging at the lion lunged at Hercules as well, and they started boxing. Pow, swipe, bash, claw. The two combatants were ferocious in their fight, but Hercules wasn't giving up. He grabbed the lion by its neck and started to choke it out, telling it to go to sleep. The lion of course wasn't tired, but it wanted to keep boxing, and so it started swiping and clawing at Hercules. But Hercules endured as a true Greek hero and kept going, until eventually the lion's eyes closed, and it was foaming at the mouth. Its swipes started slowing down until they stopped. The lion was dead. Hercules had won, and just like that, one labor down. Hercules then carried the dead lion to Hercules' house, which I'm sure must have given him a fright, before asking, "So, about that sacrifice?" And they sacrificed to Zeus, and I'm sure they partied a bit for good measure. After this, Hercules made the trip back to Mycenae to report back to Eurystheus, where Eurystheus was befuddled as to how Hercules could have completed such an impossible task. After this, the king became afraid of Hercules. Even though he had given him the task, he was now unsure of Hercules, and so he had a huge vase made that was buried a bit into the earth. And whenever baby Eurystheus was feeling a bit scared of the big bad man that was Hercules, he would hop in his vase to hide. He also would send heralds to talk to Hercules and hear his reports from this point on. And after this, we get a new skin drop for Hercules. The devs blessed us with an iconic skin of Hercules wearing the skin of the Nemean lion, just to show how badass it looks. And of course, because of the impervious skin of the lion, making for some legendary armor. And that is the story of Hercules' first labor. Now some of you may be wondering why Hercules was given such an impossible task by King Eurystheus. And the simple answer is that King Eurystheus was already afraid of Hercules and his immense strength. The hope was that one of these impossible tasks would eventually kill Hercules. But of course, that wasn't the case, as this was a quest to unlock full immortality for Hercules, turning him from demigod to full god. And that right there is a story of Hercules' downfall and the start of his redemption arc, with him finishing the first labor. I plan on making this a full series as I want to do each labor justice and go into detail about parts of each story. So I hope you all tune in again for the next one. And like always, I hope this story has brought you some level of comfort and you have all sufficiently warmed up. I wish you safe travels on the journey of life, and feel free to come back again whenever you need a new story to warm your day.